Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. You are watching Bamses here on YouTube. You can also find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/thebamse. We are going to do a quick tutorial on Voicemeeter Banana and how to get that working together with OBS. The main focus will be how to include or exclude audio sources on your stream. Let's get started. This tutorial will use two virtual inputs, so you will either need to use the Voicemeeter Banana that has those two virtual inputs, or you will need to download the Voicemeeter audio cable so you can route audio through a hardware channel. Alright, we are going to start out with going through what a channel means and what you can do with it. There are two different kinds of inputs. There are hardware inputs, which is basically the recording devices you can find in your Windows recording device manager. For instance, my headset mic is called front mic in Windows, and you can see that one here. I'm using the Windows device since I get better latency on that one, or sample rate. You also have virtual input, which is basically like virtual audio cable. You will input your game audio through this. You will input Spotify or any music player through this. So the channel consists of input selection. You have a IntelliPan section, which is basically a signal processing unit. You can add a small echo to it, and you can EQ the signal here. You have a modulation panel, and you have a 3D positioning channel. I'm not going to go through these options in this tutorial. You also have a compressor, and you have a noise gate. Pretty self-explanatory, but I'm not going to go through anything more here. You have your signal strength meter, your VU meter. You have your fader or volume fader, which is made for just decreasing or increasing the signal. If you double click it, it will return to 0. You also have some ways of outputting your signal. The A channels is hardware outputs, and the B outputs are virtual outputs. This is the output you are going to use and listen to in OBS. You can force mono on a channel. You can solo the channel, which basically means that you're only going to listen to this channel, and you have a mute. The second type of input you have is the virtual one. As earlier mentioned, this is where your game will be inputted, and the options are a bit different but quite similar at the same time. The only processing you have on this is a basic EQ with the treble, mid, and bass. You also have a 3D positioning option. Otherwise, it's basically the same here. You have a volume fader, you have outputs, you have some soloing, mutes, and so on. Your VU meter is a bit different because you can input surround channels here, so you have a few bars that will be popping up and down. Later on, you'll see that I only got 2 bars popping up and down because what I input will be stereo sounds. Moving on to the outputs, you have 2 different kind of outputs. You have your A outputs, and those are the hardware outputs that you have on your system. You'll find that your regular Windows playback devices will be found here. I'm using the speakers one since that are where my headphones are connected. You have your B outputs. This is your virtual output, and this is the device that will be used in OBS later on. You have some options on your outputs. They are similar between both A and B types. You have a mode that's not going to be covered in this tutorial. You have an EQ that is pretty comprehensive. I'm not going to go through this in detail, but there are a lot of options and some pre-built curves and so on. You also have a mute if you want to mute your output. I'm not sure why, but you have the option. You have your regular VU meter that's also surround capable, and you have your volume fader. The next step is to configure your Windows default playback device. This is to send all the gaming audio and web browser audio and the likes to Voicemeeter and the virtual input found here. To do this, you need to right-click your speaker icon and select Playback Devices. Scroll down if needed and find the input called Voicemeeter input. Select this as the default device and your default communication device. So we have our microphone audio, we have our gaming audio, and we need to send this to OBS in order to get it to actually sound on stream. To do this, you need to enter the settings for your streaming profile and the audio tab. You can leave your desktop audio device on default. This will not be used. You will actually disable the desktop audio device in just a few seconds. The Voicemeeter output will be used as a microphone or auxiliary audio device. So in my case, since I'm using Banana, I have two Voicemeeter outputs. This is the one just called Voicemeeter output. This equals to B1. The Voicemeeter aux output is the one called B2. So in my case, I'm going to use the one called Voicemeeter output, and then I'm good here. I, as you can see, have already disabled my desktop audio device, and the only microphone or auxiliary device I'm using is the actual microphone. So far, so good. We have the microphone audio, we have the gaming audio over here, but there is one more component still that I've been asked a lot about, and that is actually having music playing, but only hearable or audible for the viewers. The people who are streaming don't usually like to have the music playing meanwhile they're playing, since they will be missing out on subtle sounds or footsteps or whatever it can be. So to do this, we will need to use a secondary virtual input, or as I've done in this case, I've actually used a hardware input. But in order to do this, you need to download the Voicemeeter virtual audio cable and route the audio through here. In order to get Spotify to actually play sounds on a different device than the default Windows playback device, you need to download a small plugin to Spotify that's called Equalify. After its installation and you pressed play on a song, this new little window or button will appear. Clicking it, left clicking it I should say, opens up this menu. It's basically a really nice equalizer, but also you have the option just here by right clicking, options, and change sound device. This routes all audio, and in my case, to the cable input. You can also, if you use Banana instead, use the Voicemeeter auxiliary input. After you selected this, you need to completely exit Spotify file, exit, and get it back up and running. Press play and you will hear something like this. Right now, as you can see, since this is my Spotify shell, I output the audio to my headphones, which I'm actually going to turn off because it's making it a bit awkward to talk at the same time. But also, I do output it to the stream you're hearing now, the streaming device, the B1. So meanwhile I'm talking here, I can't hear a single fast metal note being played, but you guys are. So to wrap things up a bit, I got my microphone, I have my gaming sound. In my case, I use Spotify input on a hardware shell, but it's just as fine to use it on your virtual input. I've been using Voicemeeter for a while now, and I really must say I like the interface. It's super sweet, it's easy to configure, and just takes a little getting used to. I mean, it's a learning curve with everything, and it's pretty alright. If you decide to use it, please send BB Audio donation, because this is donationware. It's well worth the money. So, thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can also find me on Twitch on twitch.tv/thebamse. If you have any questions, make sure to drop them down in the comments below. And have a great day, have a great night, whatever suits you. Thank you. Bye.